Hi everybody, I think it's just about 3 o'clock and thank you so much for joining me on this Instagram Live. And we're being joined by one of my pups, Annie, and just to the next to me is my other pup, Nixie. And yeah, so let's go ahead and get started. I will just do a quick land acknowledgement for Augusta, Montana. This is the traditional native lands of the Piikani or Blackfeet people and the Kootenai people. So thank you for letting me acknowledge that. And if you would like to find out what the traditional tribal lands are for where you live in North America, you can go to the website native-lands.ca. So when you think about family holidays, what do you feel? Do you feel excitement? Do you feel dread? Maybe a combination of both things. That's pretty normal. It's hard when we separate from our families and then come back together for a get together. It can be stressful at times, even with the best of families and the best of intentions. So anyhow, I'm gonna go ahead and tell you a little bit more about myself and Emotional Safety Institute and how our programs can help you with things like this, like going into the holidays. So I'm Marissa Krupa, and earlier this year I launched Emotional Safety Institute. And so I'll be sharing with you about the emotional safety framework and how it can help us manage the holidays with a little bit more ease and grace and joy. So I began the Emotional Safety Institute because I am a trauma survivor and I grew up in a severely abusive home. And so as a result, I struggled to function in society and jobs and communities. I felt unsafe all the time and like a misfit, like I didn't belong, which I'm sure many people can relate to. I realized that I needed to change to help myself, and that it was really, okay, little girl, that nobody was going to make me feel like I belonged except me. And so through that experience, though, I also did experience some very negative and stressful work environments that helped me to realize that communities have a moral obligation to meet everyone halfway with a sense of safety and inclusion. So through my own personal growth journey, therapy, as well as learning about trauma-informed practices, I formed the Emotional Safety Institute to help individuals and organizations to develop emotional safety on the inside and then share it on the outside, just like my lovely pup is trying to do right now. And so let's be real here. The holidays are often a time when we compromise ourselves because of social or familial pressure. Certain cultures have customs and expectations that can feel challenging. Although I'm sure most people think me of like just a white lady from America. I actually did grow up with quite a lot of ethnic influence from my heritage, which is Eastern European. And so growing up, there were very strict expectations from both my grandparents and my parents about how we would engage and participate in the holidays. So then, of course, you can imagine when I was a teenager, I rebelled from all that. And then I got older and I was like, oh, I miss those traditions, which is just the way life goes. But even if your family is full of like rainbows and Care Bears and it's fields of flowers and you're always happy to see them, it's still easy for us to compromise ourselves, especially under expectations of others. I'd like to share with you my 3 favorite emotional safety tools to learn how to be happy and joyous during the holidays, but still be authentically ourselves. The first one is aligning with our needs. So your needs and my needs and everybody's needs are going to be different, right? And so how do we find a way to bring all those together and honor one another? So the first thing is to just actually figure out what your needs really are. So I'd like to invite you into just a quick alignment visualization exercise. So if you care to, you can close your eyes or just soften your gaze about a foot in front of you and just start to breathe your normal breath and kind of recognize where you are. Feel your body in space, maybe feel your feet on the floor if that's where they are, and just breathe normally. And then think about the best family holiday that you ever had. What made it so special? Think about what you did or didn't do differently. Think about maybe who was there that isn't normally there, or maybe some new people who were there. And just really dial into like, what was your best holiday and what were the characteristics of it? And continue to just kind of breathe into this image as you recognize this memory. And if you never had a best holiday, that's okay. Imagine what your best holiday might look like and where you might be, who you might be with, etc. And then as you continue to breathe your normal breath, now imagine that this holiday season, you have everything that you need. You have all your needs met. You have not a care in the world. What does that look like? What does that feel like? Get as detailed as you can. Like, who are you with? Who are you not with, maybe? Where are you? What are you wearing? What are you doing? Maybe what you're not doing. And really imagine what it's like to just feel super good, to feel like you're seen and you're heard and you have what you need to be really joyous during this holiday season. And dial in as many of the details as you can as you continue to breathe your normal breath and just absorb the juiciness of this visualization. And then after you kind of solidify that in your mind and in your heart, let's just wrap up with a few more kind of regular, deeper breaths, breathing in and then letting go through your mouth if you can. One more time. And then open your eyes or refocus your gaze and come on back into the room and onto this call or this video. Congratulations, by the way. It's so amazing to tap into our emotional safety. And we're often our own best teachers. We just don't have the tools to know how to tap into our inner wisdom. So that's what emotional safety is all about. So now I'd like to just take like 1 minute. And if you have a pen and paper handy, or you can open up a note on your phone or whatever, and just jot down what you envisioned, like what were the characteristics and the qualities and the people and what you were wearing, as many of those details as you can, and just jot those down so that we're going to be using them again in the number 2 tool. So I'm just setting my timer here, and I'm going to go with 1 minute. So just take this time to really embody what your vision was. And I'll see you at the end of that 1 minute. That's the timer. So wrap up your writing, and when you are finished with that last sentence, come on back to our engagement. And so now that you really have an idea of what it is you really need The next tool is creating a plan for that. And there's a lot of different ways you can do that. So I'm going to share with you a few examples of ways that I've used to create a plan. Really, creating a plan is about knowing that you always have options and choices in any given situation. No matter what your family obligation is, what people are expecting of you, you always have choice. Now, sometimes the choices you make for yourself are going to upset your family members, right? Because maybe they're not used to you advocating for yourself or making a different choice than what you always made in the past. So just know that it's okay. Your family members and your loved ones, that's the point, they love you. And so although they may be upset at first when you change your behavior or speak up about your needs, they will eventually get over it. And I don't say that to be flippant, but they love you and they're going to try to meet you where you are as best as they can and to the best of their ability. It's sometimes scary to try it, but in the end, when you are your own best self, because you are taking care of yourself, think about how much better your experience is going to be with them and how they experience you, because you'll be at your best self. So let me share with you a few examples. Let's say you have small children. This is I know being parents of small kids is so harrowing, you're always just kind of scattered. But actually, they're like your best ally in situations with family events like this. So bring plenty of books and toys. I know that for Christmas they may be opening toys, but bring lots of stuff for them to play with, because let's say it's after the holiday dinner and conversations are kind of going a little sideways and there's some tension in the room. You can pick up a toy or a book and just go play with your kids. It is the most loving way to exit gracefully out of a tense situation. So that's a really easy way to plan for a family event. Another tactic that I use all the time now, and I almost I swear by it, is don't stay at someone's house. If you have the money, even if it means you gotta scrape a little bit, get a hotel and get a rental car. You're a grown person, and even if you're not partnered, you're not married, whatever, you don't have kids, it is so easy when we go back to the home of our parents or grandparents or whoever raised us, and we just get plugged back into that hole of being 5 years old. And it's such a tough dynamic. Creating that physical space of having a hotel and a rental car is so empowering. Now, it may really upset your family members, but you get to leave when you want to leave. Amen. Things are going south. You're yep, gotta go. Kind of getting tired. Gonna go back to my hotel room, and you're out of there, right? Especially if you have kids, you can go back to that hotel room and just have family time with your own family. I mean, parents have said that even with the pandemic, they forgot how to spend time with their kids. And so take that little extra space of just being in your family with your children and not being part of all the other bigger family, and just enjoy that. So that's another reason to get a hotel room and a rental car and not stay at your relative's home. It's a way to just have space for yourself, right? So these are all kind of ways to do it. I'll give you an example from my personal life. For spring break earlier this year, I was working at a high school, and because of the pandemic, I hadn't seen my dad in 2 years, and I was just dying to see him. So I told him that I wanted to come for a spring break trip, and he was like, come stay at our house in Phoenix, blah, 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 it'll be great. And I was like, ooh, I don't know, I love you, I want to see you, I don't really want to see your girlfriend, I love her, but I don't really want to see her after this COVID stuff, I just wanted dad time, I'm a daughter, I wanted to be with my daddy, and also I have 2 dogs, and he's got a dog, and they don't really get along, and I know my dogs are kind of dirty, they bring the dirt in, they're running around, it was just going to be a mess. So I very lovingly and gently said, actually, I prefer not to do that. How about we try something else? Here are some suggestions. I made some suggestions. over the span of a few phone calls. Initially he was hurt, like I mentioned earlier, but he got over it, and he's like, he was willing to try, and I was willing to try, and we ended up kind of having meeting of the minds, and we met in a small town in southern Utah, and then we went on day trips up into Grand Staircase Escalante National Monument. We took a photo tour, all this stuff. Okay, now this is how big of a deal this was. My father's 82 years old, okay? He's like not a spring chicken. And by the end of that trip, we had so much fun that we were at the breakfast table in the hotel, and he was like, this was actually a good idea. I really had a good time. Maybe we should plan another trip like this. And I was like, hallelujah, this is amazing. So it just goes to show that you can teach an old dog new tricks, and that when you are really authentic with what you need and not angry about it and not forceful about it, but just willing to keep showing up for yourself, then there can be a way for you to bring that joy and that authenticity into that family event. So that's why I share that story for you, because it's real and it happens all the time. And it's happened to me. Again, let's say things are getting kind of crazy in the living room, and there's this, debates are going on, and you're not feeling comfortable. Just go into the kitchen. You don't even have to tell people why. Just move into another room and start talking, because there's probably other people going to be there. Start talking with them in a little bit more friendly and less challenging conversation, right? Another strategy is go for a walk. Invite others to go for a walk with you, especially after a holiday like American Thanksgiving, when everybody's just like feeling like their stomach is like a beach ball. It's kind of nice to go walk off the calories a little bit. Just go walk around the block, enjoy the fresh air. So that's another really great strategy. What I mean by creating a plan is like really dialing in, like, what is it you need, and then creating a plan for that. For example, let's say you always go to like Uncle Joe and Aunt Sally to their house for Thanksgiving or whatever holiday, and man, it just drives you nuts. Don't go this year. Like, just don't go. Go and see them the weekend after the craziness, and just visit with them. Do what you need that feels right for you. So that's what I mean by creating a plan. Okay, so my final tool also connects to the plan, so you can kind of see how all the tools connect together. The final tool is to be of service. Now, for some cultures and community, this is like a thing, and people are of service all the time. But specifically, think about how to be of service to the people you're going to be visiting for that holiday. And so here's another example, right? Let's say you're at your Uncle Joe and Aunt Sally's, and Uncle Joe's kind of getting up there in years. So when you go to visit with your family, you bring your lawnmower and you mow his lawn. Like, that's the kind of service I'm talking about. Or bringing like a hair coloring kit for Aunt Sally and doing up her hair, because she's getting on, and they aren't a fixed income, and she can't really afford to go to the salon all the time. So you can like cover up her roots for her. You know what I mean? Anything like that is a really great way to feel like you're being a part of, but breaking out of sometimes that dynamic that can be challenging, or be like people are butting heads. Do you know what I mean? And now here's how it connects to the plan, right? So let's say again, supper's over and there's some tension and people are starting to get kind of heated in their discussion. Then you have an excuse like, oh, hey, I gotta go out and wash Uncle Joe's car. I'll see you guys in a minute. Anyone want to come help? Or like bring a football or a toy for the kids that they can use to play outside, like frisbee, whatever, and then go play with the kids outside. That's like a really great strategy for helping to really, again, stay peaceful and stay in the moment and present with your family, and yet know that you can keep yourself safe. Like, if anything is going on in the environment and it doesn't feel good to you, and you don't really like the energy in the room or the tension, you don't have to stay in it. You're not obligated just because these people are your family. I want to just emphasize that, right? You can remove yourself from the room and be in a more peaceful space, and that is completely legit. Like, it's okay to do that. And you're not being a bad family member if you do that. Again, caring for yourself, making sure you are at your best self, that is the most loving thing you can do with your family, right? Is to be your best you. So now with that one in particular, with being a service, especially for our elders who are getting on in years, just know that obviously you know your family members way better than I do. And it's sometimes, people can be a little touchy. Like, if a young person is trying to help them out, they might feel like, hey, what are you trying to make me feel old or frail or feeble or something? So, feel it out, and they might rebuff your efforts at being of service, and that's okay. Maybe have several ideas that you bring with you to your family so that you can explore a variety of options for being of service. So again, that can be part of your plan. It may not work the first time, and that's okay. It doesn't mean that you should stop trying it or that it's a bad tool, right? But again, when we start to change how we behave in our family life, because we are changing how we view ourselves and how we love ourselves, it can be a little disconcerting for people who are used to us being a certain way in that family holiday. So just go gently with walking softly, and you will start to see amazing changes. I really appreciate that you've joined me today. Thank you so much for being here. It's been just an absolute pleasure to be with you. You can find out more tools and tips and tricks around emotional safety for a variety of different areas on my Instagram account at es.institute. You can also check out some of our new offerings that are coming soon, classes and workshops online at emotionalsafetyinstitute.com. And if you are watching this as a recording on YouTube, you can check all those things out and more, and I hope to visit you again. So thanks again for joining me, and everybody have a fantastic rest of your day and also a fantastic holiday coming up. Take care now. Bye.